Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, Monday, May 8th. Obviously, I have not had a video since last Friday, so we'll not be doing the recap portion of the video that I typically do at this point in time since it's been a couple days. But what we'll be getting into for this video, for this live stream, talk a little bit about the weather report for today, any games that could potentially be affected by weather whatsoever. Going over to FanDuel, talking about my core picks for today, kind of breaking them down. Talking about some previous history, talking about some recent history for those players in general. And then we'll go over to YouTube community tab and talk about the bottom half of my cheat sheet, going over the top GPP teams to stack for today in general. It's believe in 8 or 9 game main slate, a little bit smaller slates than it is a Monday, obviously. Tuesdays and Fridays, typically bigger slates in general, but just pretty simple slate today. A little bit of mixing and matching that you can probably do once again, which has kind of been a theme as of late. But without further ado, we'll get into kind of the weather. The only game that looks like could have some potential weather is the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals game. That game is over in Chicago. So we'll see how that shakes out. Most of that rain is expected to be at least early on in the day. There could be like a potential delay, but doesn't look like it should be postponed at this point in time. So don't really have too much else to talk about for weather, so I'll stop sharing this screen. We'll move straight over to FanDuel and talk about the picks that I do have for today. If you're watching live and you have any questions, if you have any comments, anything else like that, feel free to drop it in live chat. If you're watching on replay, leave those down in the comments as well. I'll get back to you guys as quickly as possible. But without further ado, this is a core picks for today, for May 8th, obviously. But our pitcher that we're going with today, Logan Gilbert, has some pretty decent history versus the Texas hitters in the past. The only 2 hitters that have hit him decently well in the past are going to be Nate Lowe, the first baseman, and Jonah Heim, the catcher. Jonah Heim has been on a pretty good hit streak as of late, so that could be the one downfall for Logan Gilbert. He was dealing with a little bit of a arm fatigue or injury, a couple weeks back now, but seems to be over that at this point in time. When we look at kind of his recent starts here, you see he's averaging 32.3 points on the season. The area is a little bit floaty. Unfortunately, only has the 1 win at this point in time, but we do see, 2 starts over 40, 2 starts over 30, and then the other 2 were 21 on the season. If you go back to last season when he pitched against Texas, he had 28, 24, 40, and 42 versus them. So a little bit of mixed bag of results, but he has that decent history versus them. If he pitches deep enough in the game, if he gets that quality start, if he gets that win, it's going to be a good day for him once again. So definitely do like Logan Gilbert just in general once again today, but you can go over the cheat sheet. There is quite a few pitchers that we can look at today, whether it's paying up all the way for Zach Gallen, whether it's paying down a little bit more for Nestor Cortez, who's $9,300 pitching against the Oakland A's, which is pretty favorable matchup. Doesn't have a lot of history there. If you want to chase Dylan Cease and hope you can get some of that upside against the Kansas City Royals today, you could do it, but last 3 starts for him have kind of been not the best. So he hasn't pitched too deep into those games as well. Obviously, you can attack a few different guys today, but a lot of different ways to approach the slate, mixing and matching, especially from the terms of the pitcher position. Then at first base, ended up going on with Paul Goldschmidt. He is 8 for 18 with 3 home runs versus Marcus Stroman in his career. He has multi-hit games in 3 out of his past 4 games, so he's on a pretty good streak as of late too as well. We can look at his full season stats. We can look at some of that recent history once again. 321 on the season, 7 home runs, 20 RBI, so it's pretty solid stats once again. And like I did mention, 3 out of his last 4 games have been multi-hit games. So some pretty good upside there at that $3,800. Pretty reasonable price tag, kind of where he's going to be around more times than not on the season. Then at third base, we're going down to Eugenio Suarez at $2,700. He is 6 for 19 with 3 home runs versus John Gray in his career. John Gray has struggled quite a bit to start this season. He's been giving up some hard contact, especially the lefties, but with Suarez and the history that he does have against him, do like taking that shot today, only $2,700. So not a bad price tag there. He's got hits in 4 of his last 5 games. So guy that was off to a little bit of a slow start to start the year, but hitting a little bit better as of late. So 240 on the season, the 3 home runs, 19 RBIs. So some pretty good RBI opportunity there. Obviously, like I did say, hits in 4 out of his last 5 games. I think I said 3 out of his last 4, but some pretty decent history against John Gray. First of all, some decent history in past games here as of late. So do like him quite a bit at that $2,700 price tag. Then we then we moved down a little bit more. Going to Kyle Tucker, $3,200. He's averaging just over 11 fantasy points per game on the season, 280 on the season, 6 home runs, 24 RBI. So decent numbers there at that point in time. Going against Patrick Sandoval, starting for the Los Angeles Angels. A little bit of hit or miss season for him so far at this point in time. But Kyle Tucker is 5 for 11 with 2 home runs versus him in his career, so some pretty good upside there. When we look at the recent games throughout his when we look at his recent games, we have a 3-game hitting streak for Kyle Tucker. He's got at least 9 points in all 3 of those games. So some pretty decent upside there. Obviously, if he lands on another home run tonight against Patrick Sandoval, going to be a very good play just in general. But do like him for that price tag of $3,200. You'll see his price tag will fluctuate quite a bit throughout the season. You'll see him as high as $3,800. You'll see him as low as about $3,000. So not a bad price point at this point in time. And then last but not least, we're going with Luis Robert Jr. for the Chicago White Sox. He doesn't have the greatest histories against Zach Greinke with 1 for 6, but Greinke is not the pitcher he used to be. He had a pretty good start the last time around, but this White Sox team has hit him pretty well in the past. Luis Robert, 260 average, 7 home runs, 20 RBIs on the season, averaging almost 11 fantasy points per game. But if you look at these recent games, he's on a 6-game hitting streak. His last 5 games, he's had at least double-digit points in, and at least 18 in 4 out of those 5 games, too. So at $2,900, this is a pretty good value today. Do love the upside that Luis Robert could offer just in general. But with that being said, these are the 5 players that I do have for my core picks for today. If you go with these 5 that I do have listed here, you have $12,900, just over $3,200 per player. So a good amount of money, whether you want to mix and match, pay up for a couple guys, pay down for a couple guys, take a little bit more balanced approach. Definitely a lot of ways that you can approach this slate overall today. And like I said earlier, it is a slate that I do like mixing and matching, probably just a little bit more than I do on some other slates, especially at the pitcher position, but you can mess around with some hitters as well. Build some different stacks, which we'll talk about here in a minute as we move over to the YouTube community tab for the bottom half of my cheat sheet for today. So I'm going to bring that up here real quickly as we are talking. So this is up on Twitter. It's up on Facebook. It's up on the YouTube community tab. It is 100% free. If you guys are interested in more in-depth notes, pitcher versus hitter matchups, history, stuff like that, I have that up on my Patreon as well. Very small monthly donation, $5 a month over there. So $1.25 a week. You get 5 days worth of information. So 25 cents a day can help you guys out just a little bit as you're building lineups just in general. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely be sure to check that out. But with that being said, these are the top GPP stacks that I do have for today at this point in time. Got the Chicago White Sox going against Zach Greinke. A lot of these guys have pretty good history versus him. Unfortunately, Eloy Jimenez is on the IL. He was another guy that did have decent history versus him, as well as Jake Berger, who are both on the injured list at this point in time. But we're looking at Andrew Vaughn. We're looking at Luis Robert. We're looking at Yasmani Grandal as guys that have a decent history versus some Elvis Andrus as well. But, he's a cheap kind of punt play guy if you want to go there today. But maybe not the strongest upside as some of the other hitters. But definitely some good opportunities there. If Gavin Sheets ends up in like the starting lineup, could look at him as well. And then we move over to the St. Louis Cardinals going against Marcus Stroman. They actually have pretty decent history for some, although Stroman has pitched really well to start the season. You're looking at guys like Paul Goldschmidt. You're looking at Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar. Those guys are kind of the main ones that stand out. Brendan Donovan has decent history versus him as well, so there could be some opportunities there. Obviously, be sure to check out the weather on that game, as that is the lone game today where there is potential rain, but it looks like it should be gone prior to the start of the game. Then we move over to the Seattle Mariners, just going against John Gray. He has not pitched good to start the season. First of all, some of these Mariners hitters have hit him pretty well in the past, mainly Eugenio Suarez and mainly Jared Kelenic, Kelenic got 2 home runs versus him, 2 for 4 in his career. So pretty good upside there. If you want to take a chance on Julio Rodriguez starting to hit the ball a little bit better at $3,400, a little bit of value there. So like some of those Seattle hitters versus John Gray just in general today. And then the New York Yankees going against JP Sears. Not a lot of history there, but he is a former Yankees prospect, so they kind of know him a little bit better than some other teams. Well, Oswaldo Cabrera, if he ends up starting at $2,400, is 3 for 3 versus Sears in his career. So he is a guy that I did highlight in the cheat sheet, but you can definitely take some shots on some other Yankees hitters as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Aaron Judge will be back till Tuesday, and he had some decent history versus Sears in the past too as well. So unfortunately, that is the case. But if he ends up being active tonight, do have some interest in him just in general. But with that being said, that's kind of what I do have in terms of the MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, Monday, May 8th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on tonight's slate, whether it's somebody I highlighted in my cheat sheet, in my core picks, or whether it's a completely different player. Definitely interested in hearing what you guys have to say. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, and appreciate and enjoy the content that I am putting out. First of all, I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel, like this video, just so that helps out the video or helps out the channel just in general, helps out the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, mainly helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS as well as USFL DFS. Be sure to check out that USFL DFS content throughout the week if that's something you're interested in as well. Got some NFL draft prospect interviews up on the channel if you want to go back and watch some of those out as well. Got a lot of guys that either went late or kind of signed as undrafted free agents. If you want to get a little bit better history into them, if they sign with one of your favorite teams, definitely a good opportunity to do so. But with that being said, that's really all I have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate everyone that did tune in, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.